All right, everybody, let's stop that $100 million decision from dying in the lobby. You put all your time, energy, and effort into getting in front of that prospect. Your customers already know their product facts. In fact, they can look up those things online. What they're actually buying is a way to mitigate the massive personal and business personal risk that comes with that bad decision if they make it. I'm Doug C. Brown, and today, Lee Levitt explains how to stop eating the popcorn in the lobby all at once and let's start guiding buyers to a win. Let's double those close rates by mastering this conversation. This is the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. Let's dive right in. Hey, Lee, welcome to the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks, Doug. It's a pleasure to be here.
And you are in from Massachusetts, correct?
I am from Massachusetts, and I am on gorgeous Cape Cod, currently enjoying a foot of snow left over from the blizzard from a week ago.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah. So, folks, for those of you who know, we're based in New Hampshire, so we're not too far away from one another. And this year we've been getting pounded with snow. So it's a I would say a fun day until you have to go out and snow blow or shovel that stuff. So, um,
We're New England. We're New Englanders. We're used to it.
So let's talk about selling more at a profit, doing it more substantially. I would say with more effectiveness and more efficiency, right?
Yep.
So let's start out quickly and ask this one question. Why aren't people doing this anyways? It seems logical.
Well, it does seem logical, but losing weight seems logical too, or getting ready to run a marathon seems logical. Actually, we'll leave that one aside. But we know what we need to do. We know what we should do to generate better results. We don't often do it because old habits die hard.
And so is it really more of an accountability process, or is it more of a, we just get, I don't know, it's an effort and we just don't want to do that type of effort?
It's actually neither of those, Doug. It's a mindset shift. So most people who go into sales because they believe they're in it for the money, for the extrinsic reward of I'm going to make some money. Some go in it for the intrinsic reward of doing better. Whether it's one or the other, this is the truth. The purpose of selling is not selling. The purpose of selling is not buying. The purpose of selling is to help an end user or a customer achieve their goals or results. If I go to a car dealer, the purpose of the dealer is not to sell me a car. The purpose of the dealer should be for me to have transportation to get to work on Monday.
So if it's intrinsic and extrinsic, then I would say that it's not only to help you get to work Monday, but you to feel the way you want to as you get to work. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So this is the reason that some people prefer to drive a Mercedes-Benz, right?
Yep.
Because a Hyundai Elantra gets you at the same place at the same time, just for 1/4 the cost.
That's right.
So, and folks, I bring this up because what I want you to understand is what Lee's bringing forth is there's a business return on every single sale, and there's a personal return on every single sale. And most of you are likely missing that personal return on the investment. When you do that, you sell less. Is that fair, Lee?
Absolutely. So if I show up with my context written across my forehead saying, I'm here to pay my mortgage, that buyer is not going to be that interested in listening to me. On the other hand, if I show up with the context written on my forehead saying, I want to help you increase your manufacturing productivity by 5 percentage points, that person's going to welcome me into the room.
Productivity in a manufacturing, for those of you who don't know, that's a huge number. Like
that is a huge number.
They'd be 1%. They'd be happy as can be.
Yep.
Right. And so that makes sense. And now we've got to dig a little more, right? Because we got to find out what does that actual 5% actually mean to that person.
Yep.
Man, I see so many people missing this, Lee. It's like they're just like product knowledge, talk. They're never asking the questions. So let's take like maybe a walkthrough on this thing. I'm a manufacturer.
Hmm.
I just hear 5%. I go, that sounds really, really good.
Yeah.
How do we do that, Lee?
Well, Doug, I've studied your business and I've thought about similar businesses we've worked with in the past. I know that you probably are running a pretty good manufacturing line, and what you might not be seeing is provider inefficiencies. That some of your providers aren't meeting their just-in-time requirements. We might be able to find that we might find that your second shift is even more effective than your first shift, and here are the reasons why. And you can address those issues in the first shift so that it performs as well as the second shift. So, Doug, there are a number of ways in which we can take a look at where you can improve your your approach to manufacturing, the specific tactics you take, so that when you make those changes, your productivity is going to increase.
Hmm. Well, that should make my day less stressful, anyways, right?
Well, it'll give you more work to do in the short term.
Ah, what do you mean by that?
Well, you're gonna have to get out of the business as usual function, right? Right now, you're saying my productivity is good. I'm making a decent return on my goods, and I get to go away for 2 weeks every year with the family. And what I'm saying, Doug, is if you put in some work to change that status quo a year from now, that might not be a 2 week vacation to Cape Cod. It might be a 4 week vacation to Europe.
So I want to stop there and let everybody know. Lee asked me a question that made me go, tell me more about that. If you analyze your conversations with people, if you're not making them go, tell me more about that, and they're going, yeah, so what? That's not a good place for you to be in your selling
Hmm.
scenario, right? Because we've got to get the buyer to shift off of their current position. And we're not doing this manipulative. We're doing this in genuine, like you said, Lee, we're helping this person. We
Hmm.
got to get them to cross from their current position. And by the way, most of the people in their current position are either stuck in I know what I'm doing, which is their limbic system,
Hmm.
or I fear what might be coming out of this conversation, which is also in their limbic system. And folks, you got to move them out of their limbic system to neutral.
Hmm.
And what I found, Lee, and I'd love your thought on this and expertise, is I find people try to move people out of that limbic system into a buying state right out of the gate without
Yep.
getting them out of that into a neutral state. Have you seen that happen? And if so, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, in the sales world, it's called eating all your popcorn in the lobby, right?
That's awesome.
You get to a movie, you buy a bucket of popcorn, you're in the lobby waiting to go into the movie, and by the time you get to the movie, that bucket is empty. Salespeople frequently do the same thing. They tell the customer everything they think the customer needs to know before they've ever achieved any sort of trust or authority with that customer. And so the customer essentially says, "Who the heck are you to tell me what to do? Get out."
Yeah.
And so, and by the way, we don't train salespeople to actually build trust, to actually build authority, to actually create a position of where they can guide the customer to a different place. We give salespeople, and I live in the tech world, been there many, many years. We give salespeople a lot of product knowledge. Guess what? 30 years ago, 20 years ago, customers didn't have the level of product knowledge at their fingertips that they do today. Today, they can go into Gemini and say, give me the 5 top applications to solve this problem. And they are now better equipped to have a conversation about the vendor's product than the vendor salesperson is.
Yep.
So today, the customer doesn't need help gathering information. They need help making decisions.
So to illustrate this, my wife and I are looking at a new vehicle. Right now, this doesn't matter if it's a car or I'm buying manufacturing equipment, folks. It's
Mhm.
it's the same thought process. I go and I know my wife will not take a car that because we live in New England, it's cold, right? She wants heated seats, she wants heated steering wheel. If she could get heated brake pedals, she would do that, right? I mean, she just likes those gadgets. And so they do the good, better, best thing at
Mm-hmm.
they take me in, they show me the highest price vehicle on the planet. Then they show me the lowest price vehicle on the lot. And their hopes are that you're going to navigate up into the next level or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right? So I said, oh, okay, so you show me this and this in the base level. I said, on the next level up, does it come with heated seats or heated steering wheel? And he literally said to me, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what he didn't realize is I've already looked at the car 16 ways over Google,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've already researched what the safety ratings are. I've already researched all of this. So then I'm asking him questions. What's the safety rating on this vehicle if we upgrade? I have no idea, right? It gets worse, Lee. And then I and then I asked him, could I get rear heated seats too? Because I have two daughters. And sometimes they get in the car. Well, I'd have to look into that. Okay. What kind of car do you drive? Oh, I drive a Ford. Why aren't you driving a BMW? You're selling BMWs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sir, those are too expensive. I'm never buying from that guy.
Right.
Unless he comes and goes, your BMW is $500, then
Right.
I would buy from him. So the reason I'm illustrating this is because I know you see that and hear this and see this all the time, Lee, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I want people to understand through talking our conversation here that we're not talking miracle shifts. These shifts you're talking about are pretty much common sense when it comes to human psychology, right? I mean, no one wants to. I mean, can you imagine, folks? You go into a doctor's office and you've got this pain, and they go, "Yeah, I think you probably need an operation." And you go, "Well, what's the survival rate of this operation?" And they go, "I have no idea." Um, you know, or you're going to get your eyes done with LASIK surgery, and they go, "Well, this improved my sight," and they go, "I don't know, it's my third procedure. We'll see what goes." Right? Like our level of confidence will also breed that T word that you said, Lee, which
Mm-hmm.
is trust, right?
Right.
So what you're saying is we can demonstrate, if I understand you correctly, and if I don't, please let me know, that we can demonstrate trust through our conversation, through the whole conversation, and build
Mm-hmm.
our positioning up through that whole conversational uh, dialogue, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, somebody comes and goes, "Oh, okay, I trust Lee. He seems like he's got expertise in this area, so I
Yep.
respect Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And I trust him more now because he's got this expertise. And you know what? I actually kind of like this guy because every question he's been able to answer and he hasn't been threatening to me or coming top down on me."
Mm-hmm.
Did I miss anything, Lee?
Um, no, you didn't, Doug. The one caveat that I would put in is most professional salespeople, and I'll leave the car dealers aside, most professional salespeople in business to business don't suffer from a lack of knowledge. They suffer from a surplus of knowledge. And then they're surrounded by sales engineers who also have a surplus of knowledge and who are more than willing to show off how much they know. In the business to business world, buyers don't buy based on facts, right? They will collect a lot of facts. They will have columns and spreadsheets of this vendor versus that vendor and all the information they can gather. That's not how they make decisions. How they make decisions is largely based on risk identification. And so, is it more risky or less risky for me to do nothing, for me to go with this vendor or that vendor? Their decision is based on emotion. And there's a lot of research that's even though this sounds crazy, Doug, there's a lot of research that supports this. When you go buy a car, you buy a little bit on emotion. Yeah, the BMW has cool fenders, or the Cayenne is tough, right? But 3 years from now, if you make a bad decision, 3 years from now you sell that and you move on. You don't get fired, right? You don't get fired if you make a bad decision. If I'm a CFO and I make a bad decision, I have to go to the board and explain why I'm about to lose my job. And so it's all those decisions are all based on emotion, and the salesperson as a result has to be has to be understanding and empathetic first and help the buyer understand how to move forward and show them and have them believe that making this choice is a lower risk than not doing anything and not going with someone else. And so that's where most salespeople miss the boat. 4 out of 5 salespeople start talking and pitching. One starts with listening and asking questions.
Let's talk a little more about the risk identification part,
Mm-hmm.
or right? Because I think people are going, what's that? Right. So I'm a CEO of a $300 million company.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to make a decision. I have a board that I
Mm-hmm.
report to.
Yep.
I have a wife and 2 kids. The 2 kids I want to send, we got them in Montessori school now. We want to send them to, you know, Phillips Exeter Academy in Andover, not the
In
one in New
Andover.
Hampshire. We want to do the one in Massachusetts, the
Mm-hmm.
original one, right?
Yeah, we got engaged. My wife and I got engaged there 40 years ago.
Oh, wonderful.
It's a lovely place to go.
If you're wondering what we're talking about, folks, it's the first preparatory school in the United States, and it's a very
Mm-hmm.
prestigious one.
Yep.
People from there generally go on to other prestigious universities like Harvard and Stanford and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Mark Zuckerberg went to the one in New Hampshire, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, but he
So,
dropped out of college, so we won't talk about
yeah,
him.
we won't. He didn't do that well, It's great. Cool. Oh boy. Folks, that's a joke. Okay, so that's my profile,
Uh-huh.
and I'm making a decent amount of money today, and I'm going to buy. I need to get something in our company because our whole profitability isn't where I want it to be. And I know our CRM's not working really well, our ERP system's not working really well. Folks, think of that as your operational software. Accounting's not even working that well, because our whole system just is awful. And so where's my risk identification that a salesperson should be kind of queuing in on that conversation?
Well, number one, Doug, it's all over the map. You've got multiple systems failing, so I wouldn't even know. Sorry, I would say I wouldn't even know where to start, but I would. As a third party consultant, I would say, Doug, let's sit down and think about of those multiple systems that you feel are not working up to snuff. Which do you think of the three? Which do you think might have the greatest impact on your profitability in this coming year? Is there any low hanging fruit that you think might be easier for you to address than the others? What are some of the longer range projects that you have on your radar? Right. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at that big tangled mess.
Yep.
Like when you've got an electrical cord and it's all balled up and you start trying to straighten it out, it
Yes,
doesn't straighten out. You have to do it one little piece at a time.
that's true. So step one is we're going to start taking little pieces and trying to figure out what angle we need to go down in the conversation that's meaningful to that potential buyer.
Because right now you're overwhelmed.
That I am. I'm a
Hmm.
CEO who's worried about losing my job and not being able to send my kids to this private school, as well as being publicly humiliated, being thrown out of my company. But I'm not telling you that, but the board
Right.
has already been on that side.
And you need to show activity and progress.
I do. I do. So, okay, so we start untangling it a little bit at a time. And this is where I think people do make the mistake too, Lee, is they try to go for, oh, well, we could just replace this software with that software and you'll be in good shape.
Hmm.
And then what ends up happening is that doesn't hit the issue the actual buyer's looking for. And what
Hmm.
we end up doing is driving a little more fear into the process that if I deal with this particular buyer, they're going to basically have their own agenda, not my agenda in mind.
Right. Now let's go right back to that example. Manufacturing and CRM.
Yep.
So Doug, should we ramp up sales before manufacturing is ready to fulfill that increased demand?
Probably not a good idea. I'd love to get the sales in, but then we might be dropping customers as we're going along. That will damage our reputation.
Right. So I've seen this pattern before, which is what every good consultant should say out loud, or at least think it. I've seen this pattern before, and here's the pattern that makes sense. So when I say that to the CEO, Doug, how do you feel when I say that?
Uh, that I've seen this pattern before.
That I've seen this pattern before, right?
Yeah, at least I'm going, oh, okay. Well, what pattern, Lee, are you actually seeing?
Now
Right?
that's the intellectual question you're asking. What are you feeling, Doug?
Oh, I'm feeling a little bit of relief because,
Why?
well, because you get me. You kind of know me. You've been there, and I hope you're the expert that can actually solve my challenge.
Right. Right. So the how are you going to do it is the intellectual thing we fall back on because that's how business people are trained to act.
Hmm.
And the reality is if I explain to you the what, if you don't feel it, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
You're not going to make the changes you need to make.
So you're viscerally trying to get me to feel this process.
Hmm. Oh, you're feeling it. I want you to be present to it.
Okay, so I'm feeling it, but you want me to identify the feeling, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Because, if we're uncomfortable, we move in a direction. If we're comfortable, we might want more comfort.
Hmm. Right.
Okay,
We move towards or we move away.
fair enough. Okay, so now you're going to be asking me questions to untangle the ball of cable. You're going to be getting me anchoring where the thought or the process to which I want to be anchor anyways, and
Uh-huh.
get out of the negative into the positive.
Hmm. I want to
Okay.
ask you as few questions as possible, Doug. And here's the reason. The more you talk, the smarter you think I am. And my wife says that to me a lot. She goes, "Keep your mouth shut and people don't know how stupid you are. Once you open your mouth, then they know." No, she doesn't say
I was going to say, I got to meet her.
that. No, so no, when like people in interviews, right? If the interviewee talks a lot, not so good. But if the interviewee asks the interviewer a lot of questions, the interviewer thinks that person's really smart because
Hmm.
they got me to talk.
Hmm.
Beyond that, when a buyer is handed a complete solution, and I use the term solution carefully because it doesn't actually mean what most people think it means. The buyer says, okay, this is something that someone created for me. I don't know if it works. When the buyer co creates the solution, they have ownership of it. And they feel ownership and they are much more likely to do it and to be successful with it. So instead of asking you a lot of questions, I would facilitate a conversation. I would get you to talk as much as possible. And with a few well-placed questions, I would get you to come to the conclusion we should do one thing at a time and we probably should look at manufacturing first. If I tell you that, you might go, yeah, he's a smart consultant. If you tell me that, you're halfway there.
Yeah. So there's a rule, folks, in human communication. If I tell you it, it may be true. But
Hmm.
if you tell me it, it is true to you.
Hmm.
Right? So that it's so important to get them to actually say, this is what the problem is, this is what I want to solve, et cetera, because you're already 9/10 down the line at that point, right?
Right.
Um, okay. So I'm gonna ask questions and untangle the ball and let the person kind of relax a little bit in the untangling of the ball. I'm gonna get
Hmm.
them feeling the ball,
Hmm.
that is no longer welted up, but I'm gonna get them to viscerally feel it. And then I'm gonna get them basically to tell me where they want to go in the conversation.
Right. And by the way, I will have guided through the questions I ask for
Hmm.
that CEO to get to where I think he should go. I'm not going to leave it up to him to make the decision. He's never done this before and he's already put himself in a world of hurt.
Yeah.
He needs help getting out.
So if he or she are like in a place of fear and we allow them to guide us to go down that more of that place of fear, then that conversation is going to be focused on lack, if you will,
Hmm.
or protecting themselves from actually getting what they truly want.
Right.
Oh,
And they don't know how to get there. Again, they haven't done this before.
right.
And the consultant or the salesperson shows up with the pattern of, I've worked with 50 similar discrete manufacturing companies like yours, and I know exactly what happens if you do ABC. I know exactly what happens if you do CBA. Here's, and again, let's explore why, the pattern you should take. Through the questioning, I'm going to guide that CEO to a most productive decision. I won't leave it up to chance.
So I'm going to ask all of you right now, how many of you sit before a meeting and actually think this thing out? Like, you're not going to leave it up to chance. I think that is a perfect thing, Lee, for people to say, how can I not leave it up to chance? What's my ABC scenario?
Mm-hmm.
Because I find, Lee, that most people go into a meeting with very little strategic outcome in
Mm-hmm.
mind. They go into a meeting going, this is a discovery session. Let's see what we discover.
Yeah.
And I'm not hearing you, the professional, coming in and saying the same thing. I'm hearing you say, I'm going to come in with strategic outcomes in mind. If this doesn't work out, this could work out. If this doesn't work out, that's going to work out. And I'm going to then guide the buyer toward these things based on the
Mm-hmm.
conversation if they want, need, and desire what those outcomes are.
Yep, absolutely. So I will have patterns that I want to take that person through. And by the way, Doug, I do improv. I am perfectly willing to pivot and go where that person needs to go. So many salespeople walk in with an agenda and a script,
Right.
and that's forcing something. I'm
Right.
not talking about forcing that CEO to go down a path. I'm facilitating his walk down the path, and the fifth agreement from Don Jose Ruiz: be skeptical but be open. I will go. I will be listening for. Do we need to go someplace else? Because if I don't, then the trust is broken.
Yeah. And when you break that, you're in trouble, folks.
Hmm. Yeah. If
And
the CEO says, by the way, the board really wants to get manufacturing done, but they need to see revenue first. I will come back to him and say that's going to cause some challenges, and we will accommodate those challenges. We'll keep an eye on what we want to accomplish. I was chief revenue officer for a small manufacturing company a couple of years ago, and Grainger came to us and said, "We want to do business with you." And everyone else in the company celebrated. This is the biggest deal in the history of the company. It'll grow us by 10 or 100 times. I said, "No, we can't do it." And the CEO looked at me. I swear he was going to try to strangle me. I said, "We don't have the ability to serve Grainger.
right.
Their stocking order would kill us. And the return of their stocking order, because of the lack of the demand, would bankrupt us.
Yep.
Mark, do you really want that?" He goes, "Yeah, kind of. No."
I had a good friend who did lobster wholesale, and Walmart came to them.
Hmm.
Same thing. They were like,
Hmm.
"We want you to put lobsters in every one of our locations, right, yeah, throughout." And he was like, I turned it down. I said, "Well, why, Walter?" And he said, "If they held up for 30 to 60 days on a payment, it would
Hmm.
bankrupt my company."
Exactly. Yeah, and by the way, they don't return lobster; they just throw them away. So
Mm.
this would have been a double whammy. After 60 days, Granger would have returned the product.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It
You
it did
don't
it
want
didn't
60
sell.
day old lobster, folks.
Yeah,
That's
it didn't sell. Come and pick it up.
But I think you said something really key that I want to cue in on,
Hmm.
and just let everybody know, folks. When Lee was bringing up, people walk in with an agenda and a script. Here's the challenge with scripts: the person on the other end never received the script or their part of the script.
Hmm.
So when you're walking in with an agenda and a script, and you're like, "Hey, here I'm going to say this line," and they're perfectly going to say back that line. Um, any of us who have ever talked to a child that just blurted out what they were thinking, that's what happens in meetings.
Hmm.
Differently, but similarly, right? So they're going to
Yep.
take you down another part. And if you're just on the script and you're like, the person's supposed to, say this and move right, but they sit there and they don't say that at all, and you
Right.
keep trying to move right, you're going to be so far off the mark.
Yep.
So you've got to be able to do exactly what you just said, Lee,
Yep.
and
So,
move that.
so, so Dan Pink wrote the book To Sell is Human,
Right.
and in that book he says selling and improv are the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to listen, you have to pay attention, you have to go wherever the other person in the play in the sketch is going, and it's exactly true in sales.
So, folks, if you pay attention to what Lee and I are talking about and Lee's advice and guidance, you will close more.
Hmm.
It's that simple, right? You will close more, you'll have fewer lost sales, and you're just going to have a better time. You'll make more money too. So,
And have more
um,
fun.
and have more fun for sure. And you will increase the profitability of the company that you own or work for.
Hmm.
Because if you can close at, let's just make the numbers easy, twice the rate you're closing today, you're still paying the same amount of marketing money, you're still paying the same overhead, et cetera, to get in front of that client. But now you're closing twice as many deals, so your profitability goes up. So, Lee, thank you for being here. And how do people get a hold of you, the company, learn more about you, the company? Where do they go?
Sure. The easiest way to find me is to go to acceleragroup.com, Acelera group. Accelera means to go faster, acceleragroup.com. You can also find my podcast and blog, thoughtsonselling.com, and look out for my upcoming book, Together We Win, which is together-we-win.com, all about selling in a way that serves both buyers and sellers.
Awesome.
I would love to talk to anybody that wants to explore selling differently. It's who I am, it's what I do, and I love having those conversations.
Everything will be in the show notes, folks. Reach out to Lee and explore the opportunity. Lee, thanks for being here on the CEO Sales Strategies podcast.
Thanks, Doug. It's been fun.
All right, everybody. If you're still pitching features while your competitors are solving problems in the buyer's fear, you're leaving millions and millions of dollars on the table. In today's market, folks, you got to help that customer, the buyer, navigate the decision-making process with precision. And this is why I offer the CEO Sales Diagnostic, that strategy diagnostic, which goes way beyond finding the surface level stuff. We're looking to find that 15 to 25% of hidden revenue sitting in your stale follow-ups, your misaligned messaging, that stalled close rates that are going on, and more. Don't leave your operating cash to chance, folks. Email me at doug@ceosalesstrategies.com. Let me know you'd like to take the diagnostic. We'll find the hidden millions and we'll start winning today. I'm Doug C. Brown. Now go out and sell something, sell a lot of it, make a ton of money. Don't discount because you don't have to. Provide value and you will prevail much better than you do today. And also, always play win win win. You win, they win, and someone else wins to your success.